Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues episode 47. Vermont is adopting a number of animals rescued from the flooding down in Texas, especially the Houston area. There is, by the way, I'll be covering this separately because we got a huge amount of big news today. We've got Hurricane Irma, we've got the DPRK. It's actually insane. I wanted to make 5-6 extra videos last night and I couldn't. But we're adopting a number of animals from the flooded out Texas regions. If Irma decides to go in that direction, probably end up adopting more because Houston would, at that point, I don't even know if it would exist as a city. It'd begin to look like, after Katrina, when the levees broke in New Orleans or something. But I'm supportive of this. It's a good thing to take care of our fuzzy friends. And of course, I feel especially strongly towards cats, not so much dogs. Like, dogs are fine, but I'm a cat person. Like, I just lost one of my cats. If you know my Twitter, you already know that. That was a few days ago. For a few days there, I was quite stressed. I had insomnia, like way worse than normal. Constant stress attacks, actually, because Cleopatra was my pet since I was a fairly, kind of a little kid back in middle school. So quite a long time spent, like thousands and thousands of hours of nonstop petting, because, she was my cat specifically. Like, when she was passing, who did she want to snuggle up to? Yeah, so it was hard. I didn't even want to talk about this for the last couple of days because I think I would have broken down on camera. I feel better now. Not completely, but, to the greatest degree possible, I do now. And it's good that we're helping take care of these animals. One problem, though, taking an animal that's used to, let's say, the Houstonian climate, and putting them in Vermont is, yeah, you're going to need to crank that heat up because it gets cold here, especially this time of year. Like, we've got another month of good weather, which is to say tolerable weather. And then winter begins to creep in. You get more and more frost. By Halloween, it's spooky dooky town. Oh, it's great around Halloween here in New England because, like, all the trees are bare and the wind whistles through the branches and it's ultra spooky. And then around, the end of November, it gets truly cold, and it stays cold until the beginning of March. So those animals aren't exactly going to want to be free range, I think, early on. Maybe let them out in the snow for 10 minutes. You bring them back in because otherwise they'll get frostbite, because they're Texas animals. They're not used to this climate. But it's good that we're helping care for them. I believe strongly in animal rights. Not to, like, the PETA level, like, oh, if you eat meat, you should be thrown in prison or something. But yeah, if you're going to have your fuzzy friends running around, you got to treat them well. And some people, they like, when disaster hits, they abandon their animals. Sometimes I can understand that, like, hey, I've got to choose between getting my kid out of the burning house or my dog. Which one am I going to choose? Maybe your kid's an asshole, so you chose the dog anyway, honestly. But generally speaking, people are going to prioritize their family or close friends or something. But then there are just shitty people, and they'll just say, oh, yeah, Fido, haha, we wanted to get rid of you anyway, we're going to lock you in the flooding home, or something. And so there are displaced animals. Also, I think the death toll in Texas from Hurricane Harvey, I think, is creeping up towards 50. And it's going to get higher because they're going to be pulling bloated bodies out of some of those areas that are still kind of waterlogged for some time to come. It'll probably hit 100. And some of those people have pets, so they have to go somewhere. The animal shelters, I would assume, some of those probably got flooded down there too. Some of those animals probably got loose. There must be a problem now with feral dogs, especially. Some cats that have escaped. Thankfully, I believe Texas has an effective spay and neuter program, so it doesn't create a multi-generational problem as much. But yeah, it is a problem. Mold is another problem. Everyone thinks about the disaster's impact, but they don't think about the aftermath as disease, mold, rotting substructures, liquefaction of the soil under your home. Whoops, don't put the marbles on the floor because they're going to roll to one side. That sort of thing becomes a big problem in the wake of such an event. Especially, again, if Irma decides to jump over Florida and smashes into Texas, like goes along the Gulf Coast, probably the worst of all scenarios. Some models have it hitting New York City. That would arguably be preferable at this point than it hitting the same area that's already been impacted by Harvey. People are just sort of, starting the cleanup down there. what the fuck would be left of Houston at that point? Yeah, we'd be adopting a lot more animals. I would gladly adopt a cat or two, except there's enough cats. I've done my part. All of our cats are rescues anyway. Like, you know, from animal shelter and or, you know, like barn cats and stuff. And a lot of them, they have a high mortality rate because they would just otherwise be more or less feral, to tell the truth. There's something to be said for having like your free range kitty on the farm or something. They can go in and eat the grasshoppers and stuff. But yeah, they want to be spoiled too. They want to be smushied. Various cats. I have a rotating cast at this point of morning editors. Like Cleopatra liked to do the morning editing thing where I open up, get my coffee, I come back. She's there on the chair. She's like, hey, what are you doing, basically? Quincy, which you'll know as Cornflake, does that. Athena does that. Merlin and Gizmo to an extent. And so it's a rotating cast of fuzzy animals. And I love every single one of them. Cleopatra is like my personal cat, though. So, you know, I took it fairly hard. But at this time, the Styx cannot open his arms or home to any additional creatures. Not even like a goat or something. Like, I'd really love to have a pet goat. We've got enough land. I think they could make do. Have a little goat tower. Apparently, there are only 3 in the world. Maybe I could make the tallest one. Maybe I could build it taller than that other one over in Europe, I think it is. But not right now. Have to. All good things to those who wait. That's about all. Peace out.